Resolution 151, please. Can we get 151 up on the screen?
So we need the author for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Can I get somebody from the Young Liberals of Canada to speak about this resolution?
Just for those of, I expect most of you know the drill because you've been here all day, but the author of the resolution, so someone from the Young Liberals, has 2 minutes, and then we'll take 2 speakers for, 2 speakers against for 1 minute each.
Do we have anyone from the Young Liberals here to speak about the resolution? No one? Okay, and in the absence? Okay, thank you.
To allow a debate, I'll move it formally.
Well, we're looking for someone from the Young Liberals of Canada to just explain the rationale behind this resolution. In the absence of anyone to speak to the rationale of this resolution, we will allow 2 extra speakers for and against. That sounds good? Yeah, we will allow 2 extra speakers for and against. So we will have 4 for 1 minute statements and 4 against 1 minute statements alternating. So do we have anyone who would wish to speak for or against this resolution?
Against here, Mr.
Against. So we'll have an against first. Thank you.
Okay. Wayne Easter, a member of Parliament for Malpeque. I was Solicitor General when we brought in the registration on guns, and this resolution is not well thought out. You know, we have to learn as a Liberal Party, if we're going to if you're going to develop policy, you're going to implement policy, you have to form government. And we need rural Canada in our camp. And I can tell you, gun control cost us in rural Canada at least 60 seats. This resolution already has been brought up by the Conservative Party in the Parliament of Canada as a vehicle to attack us in terms of how we represent so-called lawful gun owners and hunters. And so I'm urging everyone, this is not a well-thought-out resolution. It is really talking about reducing the number of firearms. No idea how you do it. No explanation on what the Australian model is. It is just a resolution that will open up the Liberal Party for attack, and I urge you strenuously to defeat it.
Do we have anyone who would wish to speak for this resolution? Please come to the mic then.
The member of Parliament that spoke against this resolution, or against the Liberals bringing in another gun law, was my member of Parliament. I have to campaign in that riding. And if we have any trucker trade with this type of thing, I will not go out and talk to my neighbors. I can't, because there's too many of them that are gun owners. I'm a gun owner myself, but I don't care whether I keep my guns at my age. But I did need them at one time. I know that the Liberals don't talk about taking the guns away, but that has happened in some countries in the past, and that fear out there you can't talk people out of. Thank you.
Having had 2 statements against, do we have anyone in the room who wishes to make a statement for?
Yeah, back here.
If you could come up to the mic, you and the second in the line there.
Richard Marchak from Kitchener. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I do see in the courts issues about guns and crime and a well-thought-through policy, which I can only assume this is because I don't have anybody from the sponsoring body, could potentially be of great benefit in reducing crime in the cities and in the urban areas where guns are a real problem with gangs. So, yes, let's recognize the right of rural people to have firearms for their purposes, but let's also consider the need of the urban people to be safe. Thank you.
Were you going to speak for the resolution?
No, against.
Against? Do we have anyone else who wishes to speak for?
I used to work in gun control policy, and I'm very familiar with the issues. And there are deficiencies in Canadian law and loopholes that should be addressed, but this resolution doesn't work to do that. In terms of the urban, suburban, rural issue, gun crime, because there are less people and statistically, and guns are higher, there are actually higher rates of gun crime in rural centers. And so the gun crime in urban centers is often illegal guns. So how are we going to be buying back illegal guns is a question to be raised. Police forces across the country do amnesties to allow people to submit their guns that they don't want anymore. There are programs that do that. What we're doing with this policy is not really addressing the issues in the law that could be improved, but we're opening ourselves up to the gun lobby narrative, which is about liberals wanting to take guns away from people, which isn't, I don't think, the meaning of this policy, but it's playing into a narrative that works against us.
Do we have any further delegates who wish to debate for this motion? Yeah, go to the mic. Come to the mic, please.
Make sure that's working.
I want to speak for this resolution. And I understand very clearly what my colleague Wayne Easter said, that it was a real source of problems for people in rural ridings. But I think we never explained this policy really well. Do you know that 85% of domestic violence in which deaths occur is done with guns? Do you know that, in fact, in urban areas, as was said earlier on, that gun crime is a major issue? It isn't whether we agree that everyone has a right to own arms in rural settings for hunting and for protection in all of those areas. The point that is that gun control legislation just asks you to register your guns in the same way you register your bicycles and your cars. It is so that when police are coming to your house to be able to check out some kind of incident, they know whether there's a gun in that home. And it is a very reasonable thing to do. Most OECD countries have this kind of legislation that looks at the ability for people to use guns in an appropriate manner or to know who has guns. So this is not about whether you think people should have guns or not. We obviously know that that's true. But I think we need to be careful about how we vote against this. Thanks.
And we have room for one more for and one more against.
I'm against.
Okay, so this will be our last against.
My name is Scott Sims, Member of Parliament in Central Newfoundland. I have 193 communities. The largest community is only 13,000, so I'm as rural can get. I believe in diminishing the role of gun violence, as was pointed out by the speakers for, but let's understand one very important thing. This is something that should be championed by an urban center at another level of government. This buyback will not work whatsoever. It will not make a dent in the violence that's being perpetrated, especially in rural areas. Issues like that Australia had, like the commercial value of guns, will not be recognized in many areas, and therefore people will not be so apt to give up their firearms for the sake of getting a small check. I'm just saying it's noble in its intent, but it will fail in its execution. Thank you.
And we will allow one more argument for. Are you for?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Ken Weston from London North Centre. This resolution doesn't stop people from owning guns. It doesn't say to people, to gun enthusiasts, to rural people that they cannot buy guns, that they cannot have guns. What this resolution is trying to do is it's trying to convince people who are on the verge of whether or not, should I keep my gun, should I not keep my gun? It's trying to convince those people to try and give their guns back, to try and curb the amount of guns that are out there. It doesn't stop people from owning guns.
Thank you. We will now vote. All those in favor of this resolution, please raise your cards. Can we get a count, please? Social covenant with, no, that's not it. Affordable national housing care. Okay. Gun control, 54. All those against the resolution? Okay, I don't think we need to count. The resolution is defeated.